Good day, everyone. Our report is all about language and criticism. This account of ecology and ethics may explain why eco criticism has won advocates but faces resistance in current literary studies. It is difficult to connect science with literature since their cultures have become so separated. And eco-criticism is the critical and pedagogical. Pedagogical means relating to teaching. It is broadening of literary studies to include texts that deal with the non-human world and, and our relationship as a human to it. Professors literati, who praise innovation but tend to preserve the status quo. Literary theorists will regard eco-critics as insufficient problematic, especially if their interests do not appear to be in line with current ideological trends. Modern Language Association Guide, Redrawing the Boundaries. The Transformation of Literary Studies in 1992, as its title implies, this survey proposes a sweeping act of land reform in all literary fields, medieval to post-colonial, by using bold spatial imagery. Ideas intersect at odd angles, disciplinary maps raise questions of boundaries, national, social, sexual, and political. Frontiers project beliefs that shape imagined spaces. However, according to its mappers, this geography is simply rhetorical. Rhetorical means hard to guarantee because literature dwells nowhere. And the strange thing about literature as an imagined territory is that there appear to be no natural limitations, and therefore it would appear that there are no natural limits to the area of literary critique. The boldest new scholars have focused on 1500 to 1900, 4 centuries of global dominion, with such revisionist ferocity as to sustain what Leia S. Marcus astutely calls a set of geographic metaphors. So that suggests our continuing engagement on one level with a cast of mind we have rejected on another. So there are many recent works of critical theory, charts, borders, boundaries, frontiers, horizons, and margins. So these tropes also have no natural or geographic reference. Yet if current literary maps are devoid of content, most postmodern geographers are not several have used contemporary theory to re-examine the spatial, perceptual, and textual convention maps and land. Forecast ecological collapse. So this narrative emulate the theories and experiments of science, yet challenge its inherent faith in progress. One literary historian describes the changing canyons in the mid-1980s as competing verbal words that evolved toward greater complexity and diversity. Darwin's phrase, survival of the fittest. This means not strongest but most fit, best suited to change. So these are the some principles of eco-criticism. Throughout the 20th century, literary theory has often challenged the scale and variety of science. Like the human sciences of Delphi asserted differences between scientific knowledge and the human understanding. As of philosophers of mood and ego, humanists are inclined to trust the talking cure above pharmacology, finding lithium or protac less reliable than, Freud and Kristeva. So Marxist theory has influenced environmental history, often by ignoring natural science. Marxism is a social, political, and economic theory originated by Karl Marx that focuses on the struggle between mm, capitalist and the working class. So Karl Marx believed that the conflict would ultimately lead to revolution in which the working class would overthrow the capitalist class and seize control of the economy. Benjamin Williams. A more consistent approach examines how social system change as rural agrarian life evolves toward urban industry. Ross Strange Weather. A bias is code in new historical readings of culture as shaped entirely by race, gender, class, money, and other factors of material social life. Thomas New Historicism. Historicism. These approaches foreground social conditions and minimize the natural forces that affect history. Eco-criticism. So instead of taxing science for its use language to represent, examines its ability to point. So Dixis locates initiatives in space, time, and social context developed from what is said or signed relative to physical space. Like I, you, have, there, this and that. So Lewis Thomas, the core of life is language, which he sees as both mechanical and organic, and the principal way we transform energy. Edward O. Wilson, firmly committed to science writing, also holds that poetry makes science convergent in what they might eventually disclose about human nature. Geologists often describe tectonic processes as writing in stone, for that analogy recounts their task of learning natural history. So these geologists they study the materials, the processes, the products, the physical nature, and the history of the earth. Geologists simply mean that these are the person who studies the history of the earth through rocks and rocks formation. So that's all. Thank you and God bless everyone.